For the 37th problem on this second ACT practice test, in the standard XY coordinate plane, the midpoint of the line AB is 4, minus 3, and A is located at 1, minus 5. If x, y are the coordinates of B, what is the value of x plus y? So let's start by first drawing a quick sketch so that we can see what the graph of this looks like. And with this graph, you can see the point A down here at 1, -5. And you can see the midpoint of the line AB at this 4, -3. So I'll denote this with the letter M for midpoint. And our goal first is to figure out what the coordinates of the point B would be. And you can kind of guess as to where B would fall out, probably somewhere around here. But we need to know the exact coordinates of point B so that we can answer the question of what x plus y is. And to figure that out, let's first look at a simple example of finding the midpoint. So let's say we have the points 1, 2, and 3, 6. So to find the midpoint, it's usually easiest to just focus solely on the x values and then focus on the y values. So if we look at our numbers for the x values, this 1 and this 3, we need to find the middle number between these two numbers. And you can see that the middle of 1 and 3 would be the number 2. So 2 would be the x value of our midpoint of these two coordinates here. And for the y value, we'll do the same thing. Think about what number is in the middle of 2 and 6. Or another way to think about it, what is the average of these numbers? And the average of 2 and 6 would be 4. Since if you add them together and divide by 2, since you're adding two numbers together, then you get the number 8 when added together, and dividing by 2, you get 4. So we can actually generalize this. So let's look at the actual midpoint formula. Now for the x values, you'll take the average of the two x values, and let's say we're assuming that we're starting with the points x1, y1, and x2, y2. That way we can write this as general as possible. So for the x values, you want to find their average. So you add x1 plus x2, and then since we're adding only two numbers together and finding their average, we'll divide by 2. And then you'll do the same thing with the y values, finding their average by adding them together and then dividing by 2. So this is the general idea of finding the midpoint. You just want to average your x values and average your y values, and that'll give you the point exactly in the middle of the two coordinates you started with. Now, for our particular problem, we're given a point and the midpoint. So we have to think about it a little differently. So you want to think, looking at this example problem, what did you add from your starting x value to get to the midpoint? Because you would add that same value from the midpoint to get you to the x value of your second point. And notice we added the value 1. 1 plus 1 gives us 2, so that way if we didn't know this point, we could just add 1 to the x value to get us to 3. And notice the same thing happens with the y values. Starting with this 2, you added 2 to get to 4, and then again you can add 2 here to get to 6. So let's use that idea to figure out this point B here. So the point B, we know for the x value, to go from 1 to 4, you had to add 3. So if you add 3 to this 4, you get to 7. And you can test this, that 4 would be the middle of 1 and 7 by just taking their average. 1 plus 7 is 8, and dividing by 2 gives you 4. So we know this process works. And now for the y values, from A to the midpoint, you start at -5 and go to -3, which means you added 2. So if we add 2 to this -3, that brings us up to -1. So the point B would be on the graph at 7, which is here, and -1. So it's more like here, but this is b. And now we can answer our question, since we know x and y. So x, the x-coordinate of this point B, was 7, and y is -1. So if we add them together, x plus y, 7 plus -1, or in other words, 7 minus 1, you get 6. So choice letter C would be the final answer here.